A few days ago, my parents visited me. I was very happy to see them, because it had been weeks that we only spoke by calls or messages. The reason I don't go to their house much is because that place really scares me. The atmosphere there doesn't help at all. I wasn't always this scared, but it's because of things that happened in that house. One evening, while we were sitting in the living room, my mom turned to my dad and said, "Gerardo, tell Alma what happened to you." My dad sat down and began to tell the story. One Monday night, my dad heard the neighbor's car coming. He was close to the window where he could see the street, so he looked out to confirm it. The house where my parents live is in front of a golf course, but between them and the course there's a large vacant lot that's been neglected for years. The weeds grow so high that people sometimes use it to dump dead animals, garbage, debris. Once they even found a dead person there. Because of that, neighbors watch out for each other. Whenever there was a strange car or movement, everyone kept an eye on it. Also, the street ends where the vehicle road stops. Beyond that is only a narrow footpath formed by people walking over time. So any car that didn't belong there looked suspicious if it stopped near that point. When my dad looked out, he saw the neighbor arrive and park in the usual spot, not far from my parents' front door. He quietly closed the curtain and didn't think much more of it. A few minutes later, he heard noises outside, like someone moving sticks, branches, or trash. He looked back and saw, in the neighbor's car, on the back seat, a woman sitting there. That in itself was odd, but it got weirder. The car was completely closed, windows up, yet the woman was laughing and moving. She laughed and rocked forward and back, and at times she turned and stared at my dad without stopping laughing. My dad got angry, thinking she was making fun of him somehow. He went out the front door intending to confront her. My brother happened to be going down the stairs and stopped him. When my dad told him what he had seen, my brother said not to go out, that it was probably a hallucination from alcohol. My dad drank often, and that night he had been drinking. That idea made sense to him, or at least it was one explanation. Maybe a relative waiting in the car, or a drunken vision. The next morning, my dad was preparing his work things. He does gardening and other jobs, masonry, carpentry, plumbing sometimes, but mostly lawn, pruning, cutting weeds. As he was loading his tricycle, he met the neighbor as she left for work and took the chance to ask if she had had her mother with her the night before. She said no one had been with her. She looked a little confused when he told her what happened, but she wasn't too worried. They said goodbye and went on. That same night, my dad had drunk more than the previous night. He fell asleep in the living room watching TV. My mom was in her bedroom, which has a view of a small part of the living room and kitchen through the open door. She was sitting on the bed, fixing some things from her work, when she suddenly heard a pig noise, an impossible sound for inside the house. She turned toward the door and saw a black shadow pass from the living room to the kitchen. She sat down staring in that direction. Then, in an instant, the shadow passed by again. This time it moved on 4 legs, without bending like a person. She saw it clearly and began to pray. She walked quickly to the door and saw the silhouette walking around my father, who was asleep in the living room. The figure turned quickly toward my mom, like someone surprised at being seen. Then it ran on those 4 legs up the stairs. My mom woke my dad, but without telling him what she had seen. She got him into the room and laid him on the bed, then returned to check the living room while keeping an eye out for the shadow. A few minutes later, she came back to the bedroom and, outside the window where they sleep, a woman with black hair and a white blouse stood looking at my father from the outside. My mom was terrified, but instead of freezing, she ran out to the patio screaming all sorts of insults and nonsense. It's an old belief in our family that insulting an entity can make it leave. It worked that time. She searched all around and found nothing. When my mom told my dad about the woman she saw, he described what he remembered from the neighbor's car. It matched my mom's description of the woman laughing at him. Even so, they couldn't make sense of it. My dad always thought he brought things back from the places he worked. He was often at houses and lots where strange things might have happened, and negative energies can cling to people. I always thought his alcoholism made him more susceptible to those energies. It didn't help that he used to be a policeman and had been to many tragic scenes or sinister places. Since I was a child, my mom told me he had sometimes seen a Doberman sitting next to him. The dog never did anything, it just sat and stared. Over the years he saw shadows, heard laughter in the distance, things that made him feel mocked but without any source. There was another part to all this. My older brother went through a rebellious phase and dove into esotericism. He abandoned Catholicism almost overnight and started reading tarot and other things I consider dark. His room became completely black. On one wall he drew a pentagram with a Baphomet and strange writing. He began collecting discarded dolls from the street, fixing and painting them to look dark, drawing pentagrams, painting tears like blood. They looked horrible. Once, when I still lived with my parents, my mom sent me to his room to look for a key. I was terrified but had to go. When I tried the door, it felt as if something was pushing it from the other side so it wouldn't open. I froze, listening for any sound, breathing, footsteps, but then my mom shouted at me to hurry. I told myself it was the wind and pushed the door open. No one was inside. I turned on the light and the atmosphere in that room was the heaviest thing I've ever felt. Heavier than the rest of the house. I searched among my brother's things for the key, trying not to look at the dolls, but I could feel their gaze. I found some wrapped in a piece of black silk, and underneath was a completely black book with no image on the cover. I opened it and on the first page were letters I'd never seen, written in what I remember as blood. I got too scared and ran away. To this day, at 35, I have never gone back in that room. My older brother no longer lives there. His room became my other brother's, but the house kept its atmosphere. A few days ago I called my mom while she was working. During the video call we heard knocks on the door several times. She got up to check and no one was there. She said it wasn't the first time. Knocks would happen more than once a day and the laughter and inexplicable noises had become more frequent. My younger brother works from home as a programmer and often doesn't go upstairs so he won't be disturbed on video calls. When he did come down to ask why the door had been knocked, my mom said she hadn't gone up in a long time and that if she needed anything she would message him. He insisted it wasn't him. I've seen strange things since I was a child, but I tried to ignore them. After my husband died a few years ago, he was a cop too, and he died in the line of duty in a violent instant. Everything felt worse. Several times I've heard his voice in the house calling my name or my eldest daughter's name. Instead of comforting me, it caused panic because I feared seeing him, as they say spirits appear after violent deaths, wounded, bleeding. I was also afraid because our life together hadn't always been kind. I had suffered domestic abuse at times, so the idea of him appearing with unknown intentions terrified me. The same year he died, I moved close to my mom's house. My daughters sometimes laughed in their sleep, and my mom told me it was him, my husband, saying to let them sleep. One night when they were laughing in their sleep I heard a clear voice, "Raul, let them sleep, because I wake up early tomorrow and then I don't sleep well." The laughter stopped and they slept deeply. Maybe my mom was right and it was him protecting them. Another time, when my older daughter was 2 and I lived with my mom, the little girl said she wanted to open the street door because her friend would go with her. She said that where the friend came from there were other children, lots of toys, and sweets. I felt horrible chills but explained to her that imaginary friends sometimes invite you to dangerous places and we mustn't go with them. The door stayed locked. So many things have happened: knocks, shadows, laughter, that black figure on 4 legs, the woman in the car, the dolls, the bloody letters. I don't know what all of it means, but that's what happened in that house.